Welcome to At Issue. I'm H. Wayne Wilson. Thank you so much for joining us. For the next half hour, we're going to be discussing a critical issue to the future of downtown Peoria. What hotel will be in the downtown area, and what impact will it have on the Civic Center? And to have that discussion, let me introduce first the General Manager of the Holiday Inn City Center, Sammy Qureshi. Thank you for being with us.
You're welcome.
Across from him is Gary Matthews. Gary is president of EM Properties and the developer behind the new Pier Marquette in Marriott. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Okay. Mayor Jim Ardis is here, Mayor of the City of Peoria. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, H.
And also Bruce Kinseth. Bruce is the president of Kinseth Hotels, which owns the Holiday Inn City Center in downtown Peoria. Let's start with you, Gary. You have the funding now for the renovation of the Pier Marquette and for the Courtyard Marriott that will be adjacent to it?
First of all, thanks for having me, but yes, I believe I do. There are 7 components in the capital sources, and the debt financing was the most difficult, senior debt financing, and we have that in place.
So the next step is?
Next step is to make a presentation to the City Council for my request. Basically, my request is a bit different than when it was December of 09. I'm mixing, 08, excuse me, December of 08. And it pretty much outlines extensions, changes in the number of rooms, and there are just some other factors involved.
How many rooms total between the two facilities?
Between 401 and 405. We haven't got the complete outlay for bays.
And the total expenditure for both?
It is the same, $102 million.
And the city's component of that is?
My request to the city is $37 million.
$37 million, which is down $2+ million.
2.3.
The city will take action when?
Right now, this project is on track to come before the council at the second meeting in May.
Second meeting in May. And do you see any difficulty with changing the arrangements in terms of, do you see any roadblocks, or will the $37 million be approved?
I'm not exactly sure on the $37 million, H. We're, the study that we have commissioned that's coming back from HVS that we anticipate this week will really drive the city's, with the number that the city feels that it can contribute to this project.
And is that in part an occupancy rate study?
It's an occupancy rate study. It looks at the city council has to determine if we're going to obligate sales taxes off the restaurants to potentially pay for part of those bonds as well.
Because the bonds are being funded through?
Well, they're general obligation bonds, which ultimately would fall back on the taxpayers of the city of Peoria if the revenue stream did not provide the revenue to pay for the bonds.
And but under the plan, the incremental growth in sales taxes and property taxes will pay off the $37 million in bonds.
And that is what people need to understand. This project isn't being funded off taxpayer dollars that we could use for other capital expenses, for operating the city, hire firefighters or police officers. The revenues off this new project are totally going to pay the bond payments for the project. It pays for itself.
If the numbers come in as expected.
Correct.
HVS is a company that missed the Renaissance in St. Louis.
They did.
And the Renaissance fell into bankruptcy.
Not because of HVS. There was a lot of market conditions that went into it.
But they missed their numbers.
Absolutely.
Okay. So nothing's guaranteed here.
There's one thing that's guaranteed that all 5 of us have around this table, H.
401 to 405 rooms, divided up between a renovated Pier Marquette and a
Marriott Courtyard, which is the highest level of the special service product of Marriott.
A full-service hotel on its own.
The Courtyard?
The Courtyard.
The Courtyard will be linked between both buildings. I mean, they'll intermeld together.
So they'll share some of that full-service capacity?
They can.
Okay. So that's 405 quality rooms. And that's what the Civic Center has been saying. We want some more quality rooms. the Holiday Inn. You'll forgive me, but the Holiday Inn, there are some people who would suggest that you might fall short of that quality room definition. So you have a plan to upgrade?
Yes, we do.
And what would that be?
Well, we have already started commencing renovations and initiated what we would term as Phase 1, which is about a $3 million capital expenditure plan that initiated a large number of improvements at the hotel, all of which the guests can see because we've had previously already done things like new roofs and new boilers and things like that. So we've initiated tremendous amounts of carpet, new beds across all the hotel rooms, lots of new carpet throughout the hotel rooms, renovating guest room bathrooms.
And this is just recently?
Recently, and we have right over here in storage about 170 rooms worth of guest room, bathroom renovation materials, just waiting funding. We've been hit hard here during the recession, and it's been difficult to continue our program. But in 2009, in addition, we did about 400,000 capital expenditures. And we've submitted a plan to the city to continue that renovation through Phase 2. We are, of course, cash constrained and virtually impossible in today's hospitality world to finance any kind of loans or renovation programs or anything like that. So we have a pretty comprehensive Phase 2 that we would like to initiate as soon as the capital can be made available.
In Phase 2, is that what would upgrade it to possibly a Crowne Plaza status or something of that
Correct,
nature?
yep. Yeah, either that or a very high-end Holiday Inn property.
And bottom line, how much money in Phase 2 total?
Well, we had proposed $10 million to the city. We could probably accomplish it with a little bit less than that, depending on, we have a lot of kind of, I guess, wish list things that we wanted to create an atrium and water features and things like that.
And how much of the 10 million would be your money and how much would be city money?
Well, out of 10 million, we've asked the city to bond ours, the 10 million, just like they did with Gary's project, simply because we've initiated over the years pretty extensive renovations without ever having any kind of support from the city, any kind of support from any kind of outsources other than Kinseth's cash funds.
So you're looking at money already spent by Kinseth as your private commitment in order to get approximately 9 or 10 million in bond money from the city?
Correct.
And the city's position is, how is that request sit with you as the mayor, and how does it differ from Gary Matthews?
Well, it's significantly different, as I mentioned, that the Marriott project is being entirely driven by the revenues generated off the new project. That project, if all comes in as we expect it to, the project will pay for itself. We won't have to go into the city bank for anything. Obviously, the request from Mr. Kinseth for $8 or $10 million, there's not a revenue component to that would allow us to repay those bonds. So, and that's what we'd love to come up with. However, we could increase the value on that property to create an increment to do that. We'd love to see, and we'd love to work with them to do that.
And I'll allow you to respond, but real quickly, Sammy, what's the occupancy rate of the Holiday Inn City Center right now?
Right now, for 2010, we are running about a 38% occupancy.
38%.
Yeah. And for both of the full-service downtown hotels, Pier Marquette, Hotel Pier Marquette, and ourselves, I think for last several years, both of these hotels have run under 40% occupancy, which is very difficult to survive on.
Do you have any projections as to what an upgrade might mean in terms of increased occupancy?
Absolutely. I think we have done, like Bruce Kinseth mentioned, we had our own survey done or studies done, and it showed the comparison to the city and the city council that with renovations, our occupancy can go up to 66, 67% at a higher ADR if it was a Crowne Plaza. And without renovations, or if it stayed as a Holiday Inn at the level we are at, we would probably be still at 38, 39%.
So isn't that incremental sales tax money?
It is.
But not, I mean, has anyone put pencil to paper and said that's not enough to fund the 8 or 9 million?
The figures that we were given before, they did take a pencil to it, and it did not generate the increment necessary for $8 or $10 million.
So can Kinseth come back with a little bit more money, or?
Well, first of all, we commissioned a study And we did a projection in a model that was exactly like Gary's, that was presented to the city council and approved by the city council, that clearly showed an increase in sales tax and property taxes that would not just pay for our project, but more than pay for our project through both sales taxes, the exact same business model that Gary had projected. We've given that, and we did it by a nationally renowned firm. But also, I might add that a lot of our projections only really got us back to where we were in 2001. Our projections were, I would call it conservative beyond conservative, because in 2001 we did over $3 million in food and beverage sales. In our projections, just to support the sales tax, our food and beverage revenue, we only projected to go to $3.1 million, and that's in 2011 versus 2001 dollars with the rate of inflation. So we do have the funding mechanism. We would generate both the sales tax and the property taxes to easily support, the monies necessary to pay the $10 million back.
So are these different numbers we're working with? If your pencil and paper says no, it doesn't cover the bonds, and yours says yes, did you change the numbers, or have you not seen the new numbers? Or
The numbers that we were given by Mr. Kinseth over a year ago did not justify, and so if there's new numbers since then, I haven't seen them. But if those numbers are out there and you're looking to go to a Crowne Plaza and you can justify, we'd love to see them. We'd love to see both of those properties.
I certainly will email them to you, Jim. I think they're the same numbers. We updated them along with working with Craig Hollinger and a couple of guys from Economic Development. And I think their point to me was, Bruce, it looks good to us. You need to win the city council's support. And of course, it was kind of right into the point when we were making our presentations. The city was unfortunately having, a few of its own budget opportunities. And so I think everybody was focused on everything but our project, and we're very concerned that another project presented to the citizens of Peoria might get an over-resounding, hey, everybody's off the city council because we're going to get all new members if something else came about. Because our numbers clearly will show it, and I'll show them to you, and I'll go through them line item by line item like, I have with the economic development individuals.
the reference that Craig Hollinger is the retired economic development director for the city of Peoria. You're not opposed, if the financing is appropriate, to helping the Holiday Inn?
Absolutely not. And frankly, when the new Marriott project is online and is drawing more people into downtown Peoria, all the downtown hotels, frankly, and the hotels across the river are all going to benefit by the project as it is right now.
Well, then let's turn to Gary Matthews. And would you like to see a Crowne Plaza?
Absolutely. I think there's another factor here we have to consider. This is a $102 million project. $55 million comes from other sources other than the city. We're talking about a $45 million loan. We're talking about historical tax credit, new market tax credit, my down payment. We're taking property that right now is questionably worth 15 to 20 million and turning it into 102 million. Now, we're also doing it with a leading hotel company in the world. They're going to manage it for 30 years. That's a pretty heavy-duty commitment when you think of it. They're going to have a very vested interest to sell room nights in the downtown of Peoria. We're going to hook onto that with retail. I believe I've had no less than 12 to 15 inquiries of brand new retail into our community that we've never seen before.
That would be associated with the hotels?
That would be. I built 14 restaurants over in East Peoria. And other than one that I was part of that did fail, the rest of them have been a huge success. And I believe if we generate the revenue that I believe that Marriott has also stated, they've vetted these numbers like nobody else has ever been. They're very conservative. But I would welcome Bruce and his hotel here. This just qualifies us for larger conferences and conventions. And that's really what we're looking for. We'd like to see a piggyback from that. Who knows, maybe another hotel is built. Maybe Bruce adds to his hotel. But what I do know is status quo won't work. You cannot stay in 35 to 40% occupancy and survive.
And that leads to my next question, Sammy, is what is the future of the Holiday Inn? You're the general manager. If nothing happens in terms of improvement of the hotel, what are the prospects?
Well, there are several prospects. I think, unfortunately, if nothing happens and this brand new Marriott is built, which, by the way, I want to make sure everyone knows I'm not opposed to it. I think the timing is not right. That's just my opinion. And I'll go in a little bit more detail for you. Going back to your original question, I think we would end up maybe going down a step in terms of franchise. Instead of a Holiday Inn, be a Clarion or Ramada or something, which is not good for this city. We are all talking about bringing more conventions in. We take a Marriott up there and then downgrade another hotel. That doesn't help the city to bring more conventions. But going back to the timing part, as the mayor knows, I sit on the board of directors for Convention Visitors Bureau. So I have access to a lot of meeting planners and numbers and different cities' occupancies and other stuff. I also am the president for the Hospitality Association for the region. So I talk with a lot of hotel owners and operators on a daily basis. It's the same sentiment that I hear, that we do need this Marriott project, and I applaud Gary for his vision. Timing is not right. I've just mentioned to you, downtown hotels historically have been running less than 40% occupancy for several years. Okay, and before we came to this show in the room, Gary and we were talking about the lost business. Convention Visitors Bureau tracks their lost business and lost business opportunities. And for last 2, 3, 4 years, you can say on an average we have lost maybe 40,000 to 45,000 room nights that could have potentially come to Peoria, and they did not. The reason was not because we don't have quality rooms. I've personally talked with a lot of meeting planners.
What is the reason?
Well, there are a couple of very...
Take them off so we're on a time constraint here.
All right. The rate structure at the Civic Center seems to be the number one reason most of the conventions would not book here. Okay, and that is something Convention Visitors Bureau and Civic Center and hotels are working as a team to handle. And number two reason was the airlift. The Peoria Airport, as we have it right now, cannot support. So attendees, they say, or the meeting planners say, it's very expensive for them to come to Peoria without the proper airlift.
Can I respond to that?
And then I'll have the mayor respond.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I disagree totally. Let me give you 2 reasons why. The Marriott people, the very first time, came in to see what the rate structure was. Marriott's one of the largest convention and conference agents in the country. They know what the rate structure is. So our rate structure here is not out of league.
When you say rate structure, you're referring to the Civic Center.
For the Civic Center. The second point is we are not a community that people come here because of our airport as much as we drive. This is what forces us in our studies. We must provide close, secure parking to the facility. Because in Chicago, as you know, they have a higher incidence of people flying in and using their hotels. This is Peoria. It's totally different, and we have an opportunity that Marriott saw right off the bat. We have 3 large cities within 160 to 170 miles, Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, that have conventions and conferences, and it's more economical for them to come here and drive here and use our conference facilities. This is what the whole mission and the whole business plan is.
We're going to run out of time. 30 seconds, 30 seconds, 30 seconds, and then we're going to hear from Bud Greaves.
Sure. In response to Gary's comment, those reasons for lost business are not my opinions. Those are documented reasons given by the Convention and Visitors Bureau staff and the meeting planners, that why they think they can't bring their conventions here. It's not my opinion. It's a documented
Mayor?
fact.
Hey, you know, a couple things, and you can't address anywhere close to them in 30 seconds. We're not competing with Chicago. We're not competing with St. Louis. And the airport isn't the driver that it is for those huge conventions. The other thing to keep in mind is when you talk about the timing of this hotel, we approve it on the 25th. We're not going to flip a switch on the 26th and have all this new space. And that's very important. The 2 years that it's going to take for this project to build out is time for the convention staff to attract these new customers. 2 years from now, there will be a lot of business for that new hotel.
And Bruce?
Let me comment on the timing of the issue, because if you think about it, if the occupancies downtown are 38%, there is no hotel developer in America anywhere, besides the fact there's barely any hotel being developed, is going to build new hotel rooms in a 38% market. And even when this market was doing well in 2007, 2008, the occupancy downtown was only 55. And nobody would build in a 38%, and nobody would build new rooms in a 55% market. And if you just lop off the courtyard, why do we even need a courtyard? Renovate the Pere Marquette, renovate the Holiday Inn. Why do you even need the courtyard? Get these two hotels to doing 70, 75% occupancy, and then a developer will come and build it without the city giving them anything.
We have to. Bud Greaves is the owner of the Mark Twain. It's the third downtown hotel. Gary, I'll get to you in a moment. Bud Greaves has this to say.
Well, I think the key term is a comprehensive plan, H, and that's what I have a problem with this plan. It addresses the Pere Marquette and 100 and some rooms of a Marriott hotel, but it gives us 400 hotel rooms that will be of good quality. We really need 700, 800, 900, maybe 1,000 rooms to get the kind of convention that would benefit Peoria and better utilize our civic center. I'm afraid that when a convention planner comes to Peoria, they're going to be looking for 700 to 1,000 rooms or more, and they're going to leave and go somewhere else, so we won't really solve the problem of better utilization of our civic center for conventions. What I'd like to see, and I threw out as a trial balloon, a connector connecting the two downtown major hotels, convention civic center. It could be paid for not with taxpayer dollars, but with a user fee of people that use those two hotels, of conventionaires. I think it could be done with no taxpayer expense. I think it could also serve as a catalyst to have Kenseth Hospitality fix up that hotel to a Crowne Plaza status. I would just as soon see a Crowne Plaza and a Marriott in town with 800, 900 rooms renovated than I would just the bullet approach that we're taking. If we're going to spend taxpayer dollars, let's spend it wisely.
Let's go around the table and have a response to this in brief. We're going to, a half hour just isn't enough time to talk about downtown hotels. Gary Matthews.
Well, I disagree with some of what Bud said, and I agree with the other. I agree with 700, 800 rooms, but you've got to walk before you can run. I think there's a great opportunity for the downtown to work into that 700 or 800 rooms. I don't particularly think a walkway is the answer, because a shuttle does the same thing and you don't have to pay for it. It's secure, and it's a lot faster. I mean, my wife in heels is not going to walk 3 blocks just to get to another hotel to another. The other factor is, if anybody disputes because they are in 35 to 40% occupancy, they should consider what happened to the Embassy Suites. The Embassy Suites sits on the river, and for months, almost 2 years, I heard negative impact about what the Embassy Suites are going to do. Convention, conferences, events, time and time again are moving over to the city of East Peoria and that convention center. Sarah Palin stayed there for 2 nights. I guarantee you that this project will put the downtown of Peoria back in the limelight that it belongs in.
Sammy Qureshi.
I agree with what Bud Greaves' proposal is. Connector or the Skywalk, I can take it or leave it. That's optional. But I think it's a great plan to renovate both of the full-service downtown hotels, Pere Marquette and Holiday Inn. And we can attract a lot more conventions that way, rather than just upgrading one hotel and letting the other one suffer. If we are going to pay the taxpayers money, it should benefit for both properties in downtown.
Mayor Ortiz?
Well, you know, the plan, Bud was never afraid of throwing something against the wall, which he did on this one. And
when he was mayor, he wasn't afraid to do that.
That's my point, and I applaud him for that. I mean, you have to think about a lot of the different options here. This one, you know, when Bud first put it out there was absolutely no idea of how they were going to pay for the connector. We're still not really sure if it's, you know, we don't know what the cost is. We know nothing about it. I really don't think it made much sense, especially in light of the fact that this project has been on the table for a year and a half now, and here at the 11th hour, all of a sudden, let's connect them by the hotel. So I think Bud's plan was interesting at best, but let's face it, this project is going to encourage more investment in our downtown hotels. When you talk about occupancy, there's no, and you're the pro, Bruce, but to have a mid 30% occupancy on one side of the river and a mid 60s on up on the other side of the river, why is that difference? I mean, when you say you guys are so low, why is the other side so high?
You get the last chance to wrap this up, Bruce.
Well, to kind of dovetail on what you asked that question, Mayor, I'm not questioning that. What I'm questioning is what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And if you really, truly want 700 quality rooms downtown, why not support our project like you're supporting Gary's project? Because if we end up with one really nice Marriott hotel and one crappy old Ramada Inn, you got a big problem there, because you're not going to draw the big conventions. All you're going to do is fill the Marriott, and you're going to see the only green corner in downtown Peoria look like a ghost town and not be the quality of property that's going to make anybody proud, and it'll chase as many people away from downtown as possible. You know, I would question the need for any new rooms downtown in the form of the Courtyard, because you know, that's just you know, people develop courtyards all day long without any kind of public support.
It's going to happen, though, so that we know, because you do have financing in place, and demolition will start this summer, correct?
That's the plan.
All right. With that, we'll see what the future holds in terms of occupancy rate, in terms of Crown Plazas, Courtyard Marriotts, what have you, and Civic Center conventions. Thank you so much for joining us for this actually very revealing conversation. I thank you all so much for participating. This is the final ad issue of the season. We'll be back in September with another new season right here on Channel 47. Thanks for joining us.